Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about this Ernest Gary Gygax TSR thing, like how essentially TSR, Giants Land, Ernest Gary Gygax launch of a new TSR company that happened in June of 2021. So what happened? This thing, like, basically there was the announcement that there was a new the TSR was coming back, returning, right? So TSR, of course, is the company that owned Dungeons & Dragons before Wizards of the Coast. There's already been one, in my opinion, fully failed, like, TSR relaunch. Like, there was already a TSR company. Nobody cared, right? Now, this TSR Giant Lands thing, I think it's finished. I think that company is done, and we're not even a month into its launch, right? This is like if the Titanic sunk and it was only 1,000 feet away from the shore, right? So basically, I think there was some really incredible things that happened, and I just want to talk about this. So one, I don't co-sign anything Gary Gygax said. I think what he said was inappropriate at best and should not have been said. But there's way better people to talk about, like what Ernest Gary Gygax said and why it was wrong and XYZ. What I think is very interesting about this and what I want to talk about is the lessons learned from this. So one, here's the thing. I feel like TSR is cursed. Like, we just need to acknowledge this, right? TSR was cursed to launch Dungeons and Dragons and then lose control of it. It launched in 1974, and then it went to 1984 and 1994. 25 years, TSR's held Dungeons and Dragons, and in my opinion, it never was a good guardianship for Dungeons and Dragons for even a single day. It always had the creative side well handled, but its business side was a mess from day one to the last day to 25 years later. They never gave Dungeons and Dragons a safe harbor. They never took the business serious enough to steer it well, right? And that's and you could say whatever you want about Wizards of the Coast, but they have been it is undebatable that they have been a far better guardian for Dungeons and Dragons from the perspective of business than TSR was ever able to accomplish. That is just, in my opinion, a completely undebatable fact that, TSR was great about making rules and printing books, but they knew nothing about keeping their costs down, scaling the company at the right level, doing tactics or strategies. From the business perspective, they were terrible from day one to the last day, right? And Wizards of the Coast is kind of the opposite, only better on the creative side, right? I think Wizards of the Coast, how they've handled Dungeons and Dragons from a business perspective, has been peerless. Here's the thing. It's again not debatable. No tabletop role-playing game in the world has been as successful under another company as Wizards of the Coast has handled Dungeons and Dragons. They have brought in more money, gotten more success, garnered more promotion, right? Pushed the tabletop role-playing game industry. They have Wizards of the Coast has been an incredible guardian for Dungeons and Dragons from 1991 until 2021, which is 22 years. So the 22 years that Wizards of the Coast has handled, they got it in 1997. So that, and actually I think we recently just got to the point where Wizards of the Coast has been guardian longer than TSR was, and there's just no debate. They have done such a better job with handling it, right? Now, I do think Wizards of the Coast has made some missteps with the creative side of the game, but not nearly as bad as the missteps TSR made from the business perspective, right? And so if you combine both the creative guardianship and the business guardianship, overall, Wizards of the Coast is just flat out better, right? So here's the thing. Here's the lessons from this TSR thing. This is a complete and utter mess. The last thing I heard was that Ernest Gary Gygax Jr. shut down his Twitter. Like, literally had to deactivate his Twitter because he was so afraid of how bad he had upset people so quickly, right? That's a mess. Like, and to me, he should not have said the things he said. But the reality is, the saddest thing in here is we have got to learn as a society. Anyone who is 60, 70, 80 years old, they cannot speak publicly for a company, right, on Twitter without a translator, right? Now, what is a translator, right? Well, basically, you need to speak everybody's language today, right? And the reality is, the language that must be spoken so that you are clearly understood is Gen Z, right? I have a Gen Z son, okay? I will tell you right now, a quarter of the words that come out of his mouth, I don't understand, right? Like the memes he watch, I don't understand. I'm a Gen Xer, right? So Gen X can't understand Gen Z. There's no possibility a boomer or a silent generation is going to be able to just spout off on Twitter and it not look like, and it not end in tears and flames on a public scaled way. It can't happen, right? Everybody thinks we all speak English. We don't, right? We all speak English, but that is coming through a filter of Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, Boomer, Silent Generation. They are not speaking the same language, right? And so I just feel terrible that Gary Gygax didn't have somebody watching out for him and saying, you need a Millennial translator, you need a Gen X translator to say there's no way you can put this on Twitter, right? Somebody needed to be looking out for him, and nobody was there. And I feel like, and the reality is, I don't really care that much about Ernest Gary Gygax. I care because this guy is Gygax's son, right? And this turned into tears and flames. And like, I take care of my old, all of my grandparents have passed, right? And I just wish, if my 70-year-old grandmother was like, I'm going to tweet this thing, I'd be like, hold up, grandma, you need a converter, right? And now, am I wrong here? I'm more like, I really feel nowadays, you 60, 70, 80 years old, you'd best get a translator, like to translate down to younger generations and to say, what you're saying it in the wrong way. I know what you mean, but you're saying it in language that no one will understand what you mean, and they will project onto it. Like, so the reality is, I just really feel bad that there was nobody there to protect Ernest Gary Gygax. If I'm not seeing the full picture, though, I know this is a weighty subject. If I'm not seeing the full picture, let me know. What part am I missing here? And if also I'm wrong that you think like 78, if there's some 78-year-old like up on Twitter just crushing it, and I just ain't seeing this, and I'm wrong, point me to it. I'd love to learn. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.